Chapter 25 Lysander, Lord of the Dust. Our dropship sits down in a fortress carved into the heart of a lonely mountain. The grey stone juts out from the frozen Ionian waste like a tombstone, while the hangar, cut into the top of the mountain just beneath the gun braziers, is vast and scored with ages of passing ships. A coterie of masked legionnaires and a tall woman of mature years greets us. She's lean, with withered patience, and a pinched mouth, and a methodical, droll disposition. Her hair is chopped short, a cut that looks self-administered. Vela Aura, sister of Romulus, and his favorite captain during his war against my grandmother. Her mech units made hell out of the smaller moons, and gave me a fair amount of respect for the guerrilla warfare as I watched from afar on Luna. My neck aches from the injection site of the anti-radiation drugs they pumped into me after my brief exposure. Nausea whirls. I watch Vela greet Seraphina with a chilly touch of their foreheads. Seraphina does not look like the girl I rescued. The grime and blood are gone. The girl replaced by a woman who walks with a storm in her veins. Her lips are full, her nose slightly hooked, her dull gold eyes sleepy and large, and with thick eyelashes. Her hair is buzzed and notched on the right side. She is not beautiful by the standards of Luna Quartz, but there's something too feral about her. Something wild beneath the laconic movements and unsmiling face. Little hawk indeed. Cassius catches me watching Seraphina. "What did he do to you?" he whispers, hunched in his manacles. "Educate me," I grimace, and play off the horror. "I told you not to run your mouth." He eyes my wind-burnt face. "Gods, man! You look like a lobster." And I feel like one too, cooked and buttered. He looks at the golds preparing to lead us to the fortress. "Follow my lead. Every word here counts." I try to breathe out the sibling peevishness. It clings in me, but not enough to convince me that he's wrong. If my little flight out of the ship taught me anything, it is that Cassius knows these people better than I do. For all my studies, the halls of the fortress are bare rock, like the hangar, and seem to have been carved crudely by claw drills. Errant marks abound. Protection glyphs riddle the archways. Like wood eaten by termites, the place is abandoned except for Romulus's soldiers and the fortress's other two breeds of denizen. Robed obsidian, with bare feet and bald heads, with iron pyramids emblazoned on their simple grey robes, and several white hierophants who wear strange perukes made out of coarse blue-black hair. This is a remote installation, a fortress that has been left to molder. Why are we here and not in Sungrave? Romulus is trying to hide something. Is it simply his daughter's indiscretion? Or is this about the recording Pandora asked about? What did she think Seraphina was bringing back? What could be so valuable to spark all this? There is no furniture in the war room of the fortress. Huge pillars support the uneven domed ceiling, and at the far side wait a coterie of shadowy forms. My heart beats faster as we draw closer to a great stone throne, made for a man larger than a gold. I search the shadows, expecting the infamous warrior to be lounging upon it. But Romulus Aura, 23rd Lord of the Dust, sovereign of the Rim Dominion, does not sit upon the throne. He sits at the foot, cross-legged on a thin cushion, wearing only a grey score suit. His cheekbones are high, the lines of his jaw long, and leading to a surprisingly sensual lips, riven with two scars. His hair is dark gold, streaked with grey and tied behind his head in a simple bun, through which pierces a stick of black wood. His right arm was lost in the Battle of Ilium and never replaced. A sliver of his bare chest, moon pale, shows as the collar of his suit falls open from his quiet labor. He makes adjustments to a disassembled black hosta on his lap. Longer than the razors of the interior, it stretches to 2 meters in its active rigid form, resembling that of a lance. Silver figures are etched into the metal. It is not their ancestral sword, Starfire. That was lost at the Reaper's triumph when his father's corpse was robbed. Its owner, now a mystery. I find myself admiring his poise. There is an intensity to his quiet, like a lone cold stone sitting in a still pool of water. A humanity to his bearing, an expression that I did not expect, and in some way makes me feel as if I stumbled upon an ancient creature in his private garden, one who has seen the shaping of worlds, the sundering of empires. I feel calm, but very, very small, as the myth earns flesh. Unlike me, he stood before the Reaper, did not surrender his moon. He gave an arm and a son to protect it. The obsidians push us to our knees. An ugly gold in his mid-20s, with a crisp dark goatee and close-cropped hair, emerges from the shadow behind Romulus, watching us with intelligent, mismatched eyes. He looks like a spider smuggled into human flesh, all knobby joints and spindly appendages, lending him a covetous air. His forehead and jaw are overgrown, and the skin and color possess an anemic quality of a skinned rabbit, except on his neck, where there are several small brown splotches. The famous fiend is Marius Al-Ra. I knew him when he studied at the Political Academy on Luna as a hostage. I remember him a boy of 13, quiet, resentful of the parties and disdainful of his peers as they were of him. I duck my head, worried he might recognize me. He does not. His eyes linger a moment, then pass on, absorbing all of us as he ignores his sister and brother to exchange a few hushed words with Pandora. When Romulus has sealed his razor's casing again, he breathes a long, ceremonious note of air from his nose. Marius touches his shoulder. Father, they've arrived. And they've brought Gotcha, Romulus says. And when he finally looks up, I am struck by his gaze. The left eye is missing, and in its place is a smooth globe of blue marble. Romulus eases himself to his feet and greets his son Diomedes. The younger man must bend at the waist so that their foreheads touch in their fashion. Son, he turns to Pandora. Pandora, you have done well. Please. She nods stiffly and raises from her deep bow. Only my duty, my liege. He smiles at his sister, Vela. The ghost never changes. I would not want to do. I would not know what to do if she did. Thank you, Pandora. Romulus sets his hand on her shoulder. I wish I could tell the Moon Council what you have done. The Rim's greatest servant deserves more than just my meager thanks. She nods obediently. Before her master, gone is the hound, replaced by a pup. The adoration is shared by Diomedes and the rest. I feel it seeping into me. Only Cassius seems immune. His eyes rove for some means of escape, as I should be doing. At last, Romulus comes before Seraphina, who kneels, her shaven head bowed, her eyes fixed on the ground. Her father lifts her chin and kisses her on the brow. "Seraphina, my burning one, how I missed you." "Father," she looks up at him with absolute love on her fierce face. "I didn't know if I would see you again." Has anyone ever looked at me with such love? He presses his forehead against hers, and after a moment he pulls back and looks at us. "You bring Gaja." "They're friends," Seraphina says. "I was set upon by Ascamoni." "I've heard," Romulus says, sparing the look to Pandora. "Let me see their hands." With the help of his guards, our hands are shown to him. He looks down at our palms. "You are not scarred. So why do you both have calluses only a life with a razor could give?" Diomedes glowers down at us, as do the others. "My name is Regulus Augeanus. We're traders. I was once a warrior by necessity," Cassius admits. "I never earned a scar. My family wasn't well placed enough to earn me admission into the Institute. But I served Augustus, as all our family have. When my home was taken by the Rising, I picked up a razor and fought, until Mars was lost. And then I fled with my brother, Castor." "So you accepted exile over death," Romulus says. "I see." He looks back to his daughter. Cassius glances at me to make sure I continue my silence. "Why did you not tell me where you went, child?" Romulus asks his daughter. "Would you have let me go?" "No." "When you disappeared, I thought you had died. When I discovered that you went to the interior, you'd wish I had." The words wound him. "No." Vela and Marius seemed to disagree. "I would have moved worlds to bring you home." "But instead you sent your dog to hunt me down," Seraphina says. "You killed Hjörnir. Hjörnir, father. You've known him since he was a child. You taught him how to hunt. All he ever wanted to do was to serve gold, and that bitch pulled out his teeth." "He was a slave who disobeyed his master," Romulus says. "Did you tell her to torture him?" Her voice softens. "Did you?" "I did," Marius says from behind his father. "You?" Seraphina hisses. "Of course it was you." "Do you expect a concession of regret, sister?" he asks with a soft malice. "I dare say the fate of your pet should be on your conscience, jeopardizing the Pax Ilium for a flight of fancy. What if the slave king and his horde had caught you? War would follow." "You might try sounding less pleased about it, brother," Diomedes says. I note the tension between them, filing it away for later, and glance at Cassius. He's eyeing the razor and Romulus's left on his palate. Seraphina spits at her brother's feet, the greatest sign of disrespect on a world barren of natural water. "I weep for a world where a worm like you could order a man like Hjörnir to a dust." Marius does not rise to meet her anger. He just sighs. "Did I raise a dog?" Romulus asks her. Seraphina's face reddens. "No, father." "Then do not act like one. Your brother is my quaestor. and his service has been faithful. I would have questioned Hrolnir myself had I been there. Seraphina looks away from her father in disgust. He conspired with you to break a legal treaty. He is a traitor. Then so am I. Yes, you are, Marcia says. Strictly speaking. Boy! Romulus stares at his own son, till the man lowers his head in apology. He turns back to address his daughter. You broke the peace, a peace that has protected our moons for 10 years. You went against the sovereign. You went against your own father. Why? What could you possibly seek? The truth, she says passionately. What truth? The truth of what happened to our docks. This gets Cassius's attention, and mine. Diomedes blinks. What mystery is there? Fabii destroyed them for his sovereign. Unlike the utter destruction of Rhea, my grandmother cannot claim responsibility for the destruction of Ganymede's docks. She gave no such order. Roke out Fabii's reasons for crippling the far worlds died with him. Or did they? I lean forward in interest. So you've been listening to Mother's fancies again? Asks spindly Marius. And did you find anything? No, Seraphina says, hanging her head. Mother was wrong. I catch the slightest movement of Romulus's lips. So slight, all but a pink, and a boy raised by my grandmother might have missed it. Relief. Interesting. He feared she would bring back something. You wanted the war so badly? He asks his daughter. I want justice, Seraphina says. But she does not notice something else. And echoes my own thoughts. Why did you not bring me to Sungrave? Why here? All of Io believes you are on a mission for me, Romulus says. That is what I've claimed. And if the council discovers the truth, that you went into the Gulf of your own accord, you will be executed for treason. I brought you here to protect you. And then where is Mother? Why is she not here? I think you know why, Romulus says. She used you, child. She would have had you spark her war. But now, as I told her, you cannot draw blood from a stone. There is no mystery, no conspiracy. Fabii destroyed our docks. Anything else is a fantasy of a warmonger. Romulus steps back from her. Now what am I to do with you? Let me return to Sungrave. Let me serve the Rim. Romulus looks down at his daughter, but his eyes fixed on the past, heavy with the weight of age. He lost his firstborn daughter in the Reaper's triumph, his son Aeneas at the Battle of Ilium. How much more will he lose? He wonders. I know because I've seen that same look in Cassius's eyes, the same weight in his spirit. If only I could, he says to her. He nods to the robe obsidian. They see Seraphina from behind. She struggles in vain against their huge hands. Father! When I was stronger, I'd bring you before the Moon Council. But I don't have the heart to watch you meet the dust. You risked a war. You broke the law. Now this place is your home. Living quarters have been installed for your comfort, but it has no communications equipment, no transports. The nearest outpost is 300 kilometers away. The Sohai I leave you behind with will be here for your safety, and they will have no krill, no score suits or radiation shielding. If you attempt to leave on foot, the dust will devour you within a kilometer. This is the fate you made for yourself. I don't know these people, but I feel a keen ache in seeing a family trauma as Seraphina begs her father not to do this, for her brother to stop him. They are right. It was not her place to risk war. Diomedes looks pained. It is this or death. I'm sorry, little hawk. It has to be. Face torn with betrayal, Seraphina is dragged cursing from the room. Cassius and I are left on our knees. A sick feeling spreading through me. I realize that we too must be forgotten. All those weeks in the cell just to face the same end. For me, for Pytha, for Cassius. And what about the Gaja? Diomedes asks his father. They could be the slaves' night spies, Marius murmurs. Interrogate them. Romulus paces before Cassius and me. You saved my daughter's life. For that, I give the gift of my thanks. And my son has given you the gift of reprieve from torture. By the calluses on your hands, I know you are men of weight, and so I awarded you the dignity of my attention. We are your guests, I begin, prepared to launch into a long spiel about honor and dignity. But he speaks over me. Guests are invited. You cannot stay. You cannot leave. So the only right I can afford you is a swift end. He turns to Pandora. Behead them. Put their bodies into the ship, and then cast them into Jupiter. Diomedes, I say, hoping I gauged him right. There's a small hesitation in the large man. They saved Seraphina's life, he says. And to keep her alive, there must be no witnesses to her return except those we trust, Romulus replies. I search for some clever gamut, straining for an outlandish conceit that might save us, something out of the Reaper's own book. Cassius is prepared to launch himself, not at Diomedes, but at Romulus himself, and try to take a hostage. I know the current of my friend's mind, and I know I might help him by using my body as a shield against Diomedes. I'll likely die for it, and you'll have a chance. The tension builds first in the muscular neck, then his toes as he finds purchase on the stone. And just before Cassius is about to fling himself forward, the ground rumbles under our feet. Diomedes steps back from us. What is that? Diomedes asks. Volcanism? No. Romulus puts a hand to the ground. A missile strike. Vela pulls her datapad and snaps several questions into it. Romulus, we have incoming vessels. Our escorts are down. Impossible, Marius whispers. No one knows we're here. Evidently someone does, Romulus replies. How many ships? Vela blinks hard at her datapad. Romulus is forced to repeat himself. How many? 10 Warhawks. 10, Diomedes repeats, startled by the number. And more chimeras. How could they get past the orbital defenses? Marius asks. They didn't come from orbit, Romulus murmurs. The golds all tense at the implication. Vela takes control. Pandora, you have your Cryptea stall in the hangar. Pandora salutes and heads towards the hallway, flanked by her men. Vela turns to the rest of her bodyguards. Protect your sovereign. But then, Romulus begins to laugh. "Father," Diomede says, sparing a confused glance at Marius as their father sits back down on his cushion and sets his razor on the ground. "What are you doing?" "Waiting." "For what?" "Isn't it obvious?" "Your mother,"